Welcome everybody. I'm Marwan Azzi. I'm a board member at LIFE. As you know, LIFE has opened up to law, which means that this amazing platform is now available to lawyers from Lebanese origin or Lebanese lawyers to become members, to use the platform, network with other Lebanese in other professions, in finance, in real estate, consultant, in tech, and other lawyers as well. I will be reaching out to some of you that I know that I see are participating to get your ideas on what do you want to do with this platform and how would you like to basically benefit, and how do we want to organize ourselves as lawyers, as Lebanese lawyers abroad. And please, if you can encourage your people who are not LIFE members to tell them that LIFE is now open its membership to lawyers. I think the goal we would like to reach is to have the maximum number of lawyers joining. We can get better organized, we can get to meet each other, we can offer mentorship opportunities for the youngest lawyers, we can also help with introduction if people need that. So that's the purpose why LIFE decided to kind of like open up. The first event we're doing in the law vertical, we could not have it with what I and a lot of us consider our doyen in the legal industry. I mean Berge Setrakian, who for a lot of lawyers who've been aspiring to have careers outside of Lebanon were kind of like looking up to Berge and others as well, but Berge was probably the pioneer who've been able to prove themselves and become like a leading lawyer in a very complicated and difficult market. Noor Davies, who's a LIFE member in our Paris chapter, will be discussing with Berge about his career. She has a lot of interesting stuff, and I'm really looking forward to enjoying this discussion with Noor, who's also a successful lawyer in Paris, and hopefully we will all enjoy that discussion. For you, Noor.
Thank you, Marwan. Hi, everyone. So as Marwan said, I'm Noor Davies. I'm a partner with the International Arbitration Group at White Case in Paris and a member of the Paris chapter of LIFE for a little over a year now. I'd like to start by thanking Marwan and Rania for organizing this event and inviting me to participate. It's really a great opportunity to connect with the legal community within LIFE, hopefully persuade others to join that growing community, and also reconnect with people that I see in the list of attendees that I hadn't seen in a long time. It's also, of course, an honor and a privilege to be moderating this fireside chat with Berge Setrakian. Berge is a partner at DLA Piper in New York. He has over 40 years of experience and a uniquely broad practice that covers not only corporate matters, but also litigation and arbitration. But as I'm hoping you will quickly discover through this fireside chat, Berge is a lot more than just a very successful lawyer. I will be asking Berge questions about his student years in Lebanon, his career, his commitment to community service, and more. Of course, you should feel free to pitch in. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat box and I'll make sure to pass them on. So Berge, are you ready?
Hello, thank you very much for having me. I feel honored and humbled. I think that I had just, in my opinion, a regular career in a profession that I really loved and I enjoyed every minute of it. And as you all know, this is a profession, if you really don't love it, it will be very difficult to live through it. So I'm happy to be here with you. I think that LIFE so far has proven itself to be a very successful organization. They were able to get over 1,000 members in the financial arena all around the world, successful Lebanese who really, first of all, they created a very good network all around the world, and at the same time, they helped as much as possible the country to give back to our roots, to benefit, but not only individually Lebanese in their career, but also to be supportive of the country, which is going through, as we all know, through quite difficult times. So I am happy to be here, and I look forward to have the life law surpass the membership of life finance. And there are so many lawyers, and especially young graduates and young students who are looking forward for their career in law. And I think that life law should be and would be a very important platform for all of us also to remain connected, because, you know, one problem is under the present circumstances in Lebanon, all professionals were all around the world. I know that among the participants today, we have lawyers from Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, France, New York, and so many other places. And we all feel that we need some anchor to remain somehow connected to our roots. And there is no better than a professional platform which offers you the professional opportunity, but at the same time, the networking of being somehow to remain connected with our background, with our roots. So I wish the best for life, and I will do whatever I can to help it grow.
Thank you, Berge.
Speaking of roots, Berge, I'd like to start with a somewhat personal question. So you are of Armenian descent, born and raised in Lebanon. You've studied in Lebanon and in France, but you've now been in the United States for over 40 years. Where is home for you? How do you define your identity?
Well, I think identity is a very difficult terminology to define. Identity, I think that first, as Lebanese, we all have multiple identities. Obviously, the number one identity is your relationship to the land, to where you grew up, where your roots are. That's why the number one identity is the Lebanese identity. No matter where you go, no matter what you do. Obviously, our children who are born or will be born in foreign land, maybe their first identity will not be Lebanese, their second identity might be Lebanese. But having grown up in Lebanon, I think like every Lebanese, I had the opportunity to embrace various cultures, because identity has a lot to do with culture. I mean, I don't believe very much in the blood born, whether you are born through Armenian blood or Chinese blood or whatever blood. It's really the context of where you grow up. And also, as you know, like most of the Lebanese, we embrace the French identity, French culture, because of our background, educational background, and the US culture, because you live here, and the Armenian heritage. It's a combination. And I think this is the biggest advantage that the Lebanese have, especially the young people. And it has been extremely helpful in my career to have this multiple choice, let's say, of identities, because it gives you a different concept of life. Because you know, for most of the people, they look at the life just being bidimensional, while in fact it's not. So it gives you it has been very helpful the way that we were raised in Lebanon, and I felt it really in my profession, and that helped me a lot.
I would have said much of the same thing, despite not having a Lebanese passport to date. You moved to the United States in 1976. That's quite a while ago, and it was at a time when it was not very common for Lebanese lawyers to pursue a career in the US. So what took you to the US?
You know, sometimes in life, you cannot always plan your future. There are circumstances and there are opportunities. I would have never thought in my wildest dream that I would move to the United States. You know how, for those who went to the French law school, and how they brainwash you that the whole world is French, that we can, and As a matter of fact, when I came here, later on, I wrote to our dean then, Berge Setrakian. I told him, you know, you made us believe that the world was French, and I just discovered that there is another world. And he wrote back, he said, I know it, but don't repeat it, please. So it was by pure coincidence, on April 11, 76, I was kidnapped, which was something quite common on those days. And then I had decided to go on vacation with my wife, who were just married for vacation in Greece, but her father was in New York, said, why don't you come to New York and you see the US, you see New York. I said, why not? At that time, there was the Air France ticket, 21 days, $750, almost the same price as today. As a matter of fact, after all these years, the airline ticket didn't increase in price. And we went to the consulate to get a visa. Then the consul said, you know, your wife is born in the US, so you are entitled to the green card. I said, I don't want the green card. I don't want to leave the Lebanon. Then he insisted. I said, what is it? Is the policy at that time? They were saying that Kissinger had a policy to let the Lebanese leave the country. And anyhow, to make a long story short, he said, swear that you are born in Lebanon, swear that you are a lawyer, swear that you have never been arrested, swear that you are in good health, and they handed the green card. We came on a vacation to the US, and I met at a reception that a friend took me to the US Arab Chamber of Commerce, and there was a partner of Lebanese, of Whitman and Ransom, the law firm of Lebanese descent, second generation. And he told me, why don't you join us? And it was May. I saw that there is the At al-Qada'iyya in Lebanon. I said, I will spend 3-4 months. And after 2 weeks, I received a check. I said, what's this? They said, well, you're working. I said, well, I like America, having this check. And then come September, I went back to Damascus, waiting for my wife, was in the last semester of pharmacy school. She came out of Lebanon. I was waiting in Damascus. And I was walking down the street, and I see one of our professors who had given us one course, Professor Jacques Hakim. And I hesitated whether I talk to him or not. Then I said, hi, Professor, you remember me? He said, sure. Yeah, he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm in New York with a law firm. Oh, he said, I'm just coming from the office of the Minister of Foreign Trade. There are some crooks who forged some documents and cashed $6.8 million worth of letter of credit. Can you take care of it? Well, I said, why not? I wasn't a member of the New York Bar or anything. So I called the office from Damascus. You imagine in 76 calling from Damascus all the way to New York. And they said, well, $50,000 retainer. In the afternoon, I tell Professor Hakim, $50,000 retainer. He said, Berge, we're in Syria. $4 you will have for 5 years. He said, let's go and see the Minister of Foreign Trade. Went to the minister. He said, Habibi, dollars, we can't. Takhud Suri, will you take Syrian pounds? I said, well, I take anything for as long as it's convertible. And it was amazing. He opened the drawer, took out the checkbook. Jamhuriya al-Arabiya Suriya, without al-Tijara al-Kharjiyya. And he wrote a check, the equivalent of 50,000 in Syrian pounds. Anyhow, we went then and exchanged it at the black market and wired the money to New York. And when I came back, I had another friend who had called me also for another case for his brother-in-law. I gave 50,000. So suddenly I started being a young star within the firm, having originated $100,000 within the first 3 months. Don't forget, we're in 76. And since then, I was lucky. And you know, sometimes in life, you're better lucky than smart, even though you need both in general, because you have to be ready. And that's why I always tell young people, don't plan too much. There are things which will happen, and you take the circumstances. At that time, my luck was that Saudi Arabia had just increased its oil price per barrel from $2 to $32, $34, even $36. And all the US companies were rushing to start business in Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia in 76, in Jeddah, there was only one hotel, Kandara Hotel. And in Riyadh, there were no streets. It was just dirt streets. So it was practically starting from scratch. So without having the New York bar, they appointed me as head of the Middle Eastern department because I was the only one. And, you know, for the rest, it's a saga like everybody else. It's a saga. Everybody finds his way one way or another. So if I make my sentences too long, just interrupt me.
No, that was perfect. You do make it sound very easy, but I guess there's luck, and there's also what you do with your luck, which is the lesson from what you just said. What was your experience? So you had a great start, $100,000 within a couple of months. But what was your experience then growing through the ranks in a large law firm as a Lebanese lawyer? Did you find that background that you brought with you was an asset throughout, or was it a challenge at times?
You know, in my case, in the general, I believe it was a real asset being Lebanese. First of all, speaking English with a certain accent, contrary to in some countries where you speak with an accent, they make fun of you. In the US, they, on the contrary, they appreciate you. They welcome you because they like to hear a different tone or tune, whatever it is. And no, I was very warmly welcomed, and obviously having the business and continually getting business through the door helped a lot. Because don't forget, this is New York, where by the end of the day is business is business, especially with law firms. So I must admit that people have been extremely nice, and they gave me all the opportunities. And you know, one thing in the States, if nobody stops you from moving as far as you want. So then we merged Whitman Ransom with Breed Abbott, and I became the chairman, managing partner of Whitman Breed Abbott. But I had promised and asked that I didn't want to be remunerated as a managing partner because I didn't want to make a career in that. It was transitional because I had relatively quite good career and the volume of business. And but like even when they accepted me as chairman at that time, it was 2000, and the costs were rising high. We were in the MetLife Pan building. The rate per square foot was over $110. And we had, like many law firms from time to time, we had some deadwood. And people, I told the guys, look, there is no politics here. We brought together the 8-10 lawyers who were really underperforming. I told them, look, guys, you might say, who is this Lebanese guy to tell us whether we are good or not? I'm telling you, you are better than me. But the question is, I have to manage this place. Either we're going to sink all together, or we'll find, I said, let's be candid. We were at that time in our 50s. If by our 50s we can't make it, we better find a solution to move maybe to Connecticut, to local practices, but we'll keep you around for a year without saying anything to anybody. And those who had asked to leave after a year, they became my best friends. They told me, at least you were sincere, and we were able to catch up. So there are some, when you are a managing partner, there are some tough decisions, because managing a firm during good years like last year is not a big deal. Now, I don't know this year or next year. Obviously, it looks like it's going to be a little bit tougher. So it has been a good opportunity. I really integrated the firm, and also don't forget we have this Lebanese style. We invite people, we cater to people, we invite them to Lebanese food, and that doesn't make it, but it adds spices to your relationship.
We've got a question there from Charles Simon Thomas, or Charles Simon Thomas. The question is, why in your view are there so many lawyers from Lebanese descent and quite successful ones in arbitration as compared to corporate law, M&A, or other practices? So why the attraction to arbitration?
You know, I think most probably you can answer this question better, but from my view, I think that definitely because arbitration can use better, especially we're talking about international arbitrations, not domestic. It gives the opportunity to put forward the talents that the Lebanese lawyer have because of this multicultural aspect. And in arbitration, there is no doubt that, you know, it's not a court of law. It's not just applying the law. You should have really an understanding of the business which is behind the conflict at stake, and definitely having this cultural background. And at the same time, with the Lebanese lawyers, it's not only the cultural background. It's the spirit of the comparative law, because we are, in our education, we are very much open, contrary to, like in general, the US lawyers are not. Because for the US lawyers, they think everything is US. But when you come from a country like Lebanon, where historically we were open to all kinds of legal cultures, now I'm talking not so human cultures, as legal knowledge, I think that definitely arbitration is a good forum for a career to be pursued by the Lebanese, because you have to put forward what you have that others do not have. It's the language, but besides the language, the cultures, the knowledge of the various legal systems. You know, in Lebanon, everybody knows a little bit everything. Sometimes they say, "Oh, it's better to be super."
Even when they don't. Even when they don't. That's right. I think that's right. It's it's a two-way street. I think arbitration is attractive to Lebanese people because it doesn't tie you to one jurisdiction, so it allows you to remain mobile and move around. And I think we are attractive to law firms and arbitration practices because of the multicultural background. Very often we have a common civil law background, the languages, the openness, etc. But I have to say that I'm getting messages from some of the M&A people on this group screaming that there are a lot of Lebanese people in M&A as well. So it's really not just the only path to.
Yeah, it's not, because the question came about arbitration, but definitely the M&A remain the main street for the legal practice. As a matter of fact, most of the arbitrations also are the result of the activities of the M&A group. You know, you cannot say which one. It's and also you have to like something. It's a question of choice. It's not that.
But one has reappeared.
Because I promise you, I didn't want to interfere, but I just wanted to not discourage the young folks to pursue M&A or project finance. The skill set that Lebanese lawyers have could also translate in a cross-border M&A deal or in a project financing in Africa or in emerging markets.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, the question was for arbitrators. And then I agree, we have a lot of amazing arbitrators, but also it's like, think about other practices.
Basically, you can do whatever you want is the message. You can do whatever you want.
No, by the end, you are going to do what you love to do.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing. It doesn't mean that because arbitration is available, you will go to arbitration or M&A or litigation or anything else. It's your field of interest.
So, okay, going back to my questions. You have quite an illustrious career with countless achievements and accolades. All it takes is just Googling you to see that. But from where you stand today, what would you say is your proudest professional achievement as a lawyer?
You know, first of all, as I said, as a lawyer, you have to be proud of every day of your practice. There isn't really. I think that achievements is a relative notion. I think that I loved my profession. I enjoyed every minute and every day of it. I don't think that I would have enjoyed any other profession. There is no one day that I regretted, even during the tough times. As I said, it's like it's as much loving your wife as you love the profession. So
we won't tell her. We won't tell her.
It's no. It is a fact. Obviously, before the profession, the proudest time was when I was sworn in on July 5th in Lebanon, and then when I was sworn in as a New York lawyer. You are proud and you look forward. But I think that without false modesty or humility, I think I'm proud in general. So when I look back through my years of career, I think I enjoyed the respect of my clients. I enjoyed the friendship of my clients. I never had any dispute regarding my fees with my clients, which is very important. I enjoyed my partner support. So what can you ask for more? Because this is you have to feel self-content, and when you go to the office in the morning, you should go really by looking forward. Even though these days we're not going to the office anymore, it's with this COVID, I think things change a little bit.
You told us earlier, Berge, about your first client, in fact, your first two clients, but you have since then developed quite an impressive client portfolio with clients all over the world. What advice would you give to young Lebanese lawyers working at large law firms who are trying to build their own client portfolio?
Again, you know, as I said, you have to be ready for the opportunities. There are so many elements to develop clients. First, you have to be a good lawyer. And because usually clients are smarter than lawyers, because if lawyers were smart enough, they would have become clients, quote unquote. It's that because we shouldn't neglect it, that because, and if by experience, we all know that usually your daily friends or your family members are not the ones who will come to you. It's first you have to make your headway as a professional in your own environment, in the law firm, and the way that you work on matters for clients which are the firm's clients, you start developing a certain relationship. Then besides that, you have to be outgoing in a smart way and not in an open, aggressive way, and develop contacts and do a lot of free legal service on your way, legal advice. And in my early career, I used to participate a lot in seminars as a panelist, as speaker on the laws of the Middle East, on the laws of affecting the oil industry in the Gulf. So it is a combination. You cannot sit back in your seat and wait for the client to walk in, unless you become known like the guru of something important that people will rush to see you. So it's a permanent hustle. It's a hustle. It's an intellectual commitment, servicing commitment, openness, hustling, and for the rest, you have to leave it a little bit to luck. That's how it comes.
Luck is coming back quite a lot.
The best references are your own clients. Once you get the first one and you do a good job, then, because I don't believe very much in the US style of going and pitching to companies' business, and because it's so impersonal. And you have to bet on the international clients, because that's where you have a certain affinity. And international clients are much more loyal. I have clients, big corporate clients, have been my clients for over 22 years. So it's because the culture is different. They appreciate more the culture of, so you end up practically losing your specialty in anything because you become like the counselor, the advisor to the CEO, to the chairman, who imposes you practically on his company to be consulted on the matters that you could have interest in.
So those big clients, Berge, did they move with you from firm to firm? Because I know you've changed a couple of firms over the years. Did those clients go with you? I know at least from White Case, that's not a given. Clients are usually quite institutionalized.
You know, I think that in general, I didn't have any clients who didn't join me when I moved. Wow. And also, I should say that we have Lebanese style a little bit. I didn't move too much. The only movements were through mergers.
Yeah.
It's only one circumstances where the firm had a problem because, again, after 2009-10, with the crash, the managing partner of Dewey was too aggressive, and he went out and he saw that while other firms were firing partners at high price, he saw that he will take advantage and hire them, thinking that the financial crisis will be resolved in a year or two. The financial crisis of 2008, 7, 8 took 4 or 5 years to recover. In the meanwhile, he was out of cash flow and he put the firm in trouble. And that's when I joined DLA. But otherwise, I had a constant career with practically the same group.
So that's a great segue into my next question. Your vast client portfolio counts quite a lot of banks and financial institutions, including banks in Lebanon and in the region. What has been the impact of the current banking crisis in Lebanon on your practice?
You know, unfortunately, the present circumstances, as you know, are quite sad. For years, for the last 10, 12 years, I have acted as counsel or legal advisor to the Association of Lebanese Banks in New York and Washington, or in the US in general. And I have participated through the DLA as a legal advisor to the association during the first round of the negotiations with the government and during the Prime Minister Diab's government. Unfortunately, the situation is getting worse because politicians are not acting. Again, just yesterday and the day before yesterday, there was this exchange of accusation between the Deputy Prime Minister of Lebanon and the banks, the Deputy Prime Minister of Lebanon saying that putting all the blame on the Lebanese banks, and the Lebanese bank obviously pushing back. It's the whole situation is sad. So that kind of business, and mostly you try to contribute as a national duty rather than for fees or anything else. In the meanwhile, we have been very much involved in defending the Lebanese banks against many claims which were filed by depositors, special depositors residing in the US, asking for the payment of the full amount of their deposits immediately. So far, New York courts have been very reluctant. As a matter of fact, they dismissed so far about 4, 5, or 6 cases. They were dismissed. 2 of them are on appeal now. Saying that practically the US court do not have anything to do with the relationship between a depositor and the bank, because the agreements are governed by Lebanese law, subject to Lebanese courts, and even it's based on forum non-convenient that the New York, one federal court judge said, you want me now sitting in New York to tell the Lebanese government how to deal with these problems. One of the judges said, but after all, how they are going to, these guys who are in New York, how they are going to get paid? And we told him, Your Honor, they will be paid the same way that any of the Lebanese depositors would get paid. Do you think that it is fair to give advantage for people who can afford hiring lawyers in New York to get their money, and the poor Lebanese, most of the population having its deposits, their savings, their retirement plans, sitting there. It's practically he said how much they will get. I said they will get as much the others get, maybe 10 cents a dollar, maybe 50 cents a dollar, maybe 100 cents a dollar. So we've been quite heavily involved presently now. We have another 6 banks being sued, but you never know. Like you heard about the London court's decision in one of the cases, but it was based on something different because of this European consumers law, even though I don't know for how much this is subject to, because there is no doubt that the foreigners who deposit their money, it was for speculation. I mean, we have done so. Otherwise, obviously, now we are trying to see whether we can help the banks in their negotiations with the IMF, because the IMF, as you know, is taking a very tough stand against the Lebanese banks. All in all, it's a whole unfair situation. I think that the people to be blamed really are the governments, and the government is not at all assuming its responsibilities. It's very simple. Now they're forcing the central bank to say the central bank is saying that we will pay the bank's deposit in Lebanese pounds rather than in dollars, and the consumers will get the same thing. Anyway, it's a big saga. I mean, we can talk for hours and hours about situation in Lebanon, but we should all try to do what is best. Let's see with this new parliament, with the new government.
Are you hopeful? Are you hopeful with a new parliament and a new government?
You know, hope in life is when you are hopeless, you start hoping. We need to be hopeful, because somehow, but because it's lasted too long, you know, the country is there. As you know, I go quite often. I go 4 or 5 times a year because I love it. I feel, and I go there, and every time that I leave, I am sad. But we have to live with the reality. I don't know whether some miracle will happen, but and the problem is that there are so many problems in the world nowadays, between Ukraine, the U.S. election. I mean, it's nobody. The problem is we are not important enough for people to care about. I think we are at the mercy of some foreign powers to decide more or less how to guide our politicians. But my conclusion is that yes, I am hopeful, because it's a country which it's not going to disappear. In which form it will be governed, I don't know, but it will not disappear.
And it's worth fighting for. You said that we should do everything we can to help. In fact, you've been helping in whatever way you can from a very young age. Before even moving to the United States, you were an active political figure within university circles in Lebanon. And if I'm not mistaken, you were the head of the Scout du Liban before leaving, which at the time was the largest youth movement in Lebanon. I think you've said in other interviews that this experience has embedded your drive for community service and leadership. Can you tell us more about how that engagement at an early age shaped your later engagements and also your professional career?
You know, I am so grateful that my parents, who were also engaged in the scouting movement in their youth, enrolled me in that movement. And yes, I consider one of my achievements being the head of the Association of the Scouts of Lebanon. And I think that if today I relatively have succeeded, I owe a lot to the experience that I got through that movement, because it has, for many people who are not familiar with the scouting movement, they think that it's, you know, there are some young kids with shorts, some idiots who run around and they go to camps. But in fact, for me, it's the best school to prepare you for life. It's and it has been, yes, I was very active. I don't know, I always loved public life. It's not something new. And then whether at high school or especially in the university, I was very much engaged, and I was spending my time after the classes all the time within the four walls of the faculty, like many people of the same gang. And it was interesting because now I'm going back to the 70s. It was just before the 75 war. Already, I was feeling what was coming up. I don't want to name people like today is a member of the parliament. The first time that I saw a arbitration, a weapon in within the walls of the faculty, was when during a dispute somebody took a shot in the arbitration. And it was a very tense time. You know, it was after the Palestinian, after the Accord of Cairo. There was tension, and this tension now, the players have changed, the sides have changed, but yet the tension is still there. So we were quite active, and I. There, being Armenian had a role to play. Instead of being like Armenians claim usually, well, we're neutral. No, I always said I'm a positive neutral. It's not neutral. I sit on the side, and I was quite active in trying to make compromises on various issues. And I was elected the president of the corporation of the law school for 2 consecutive years. So there was a strike. They were happy times, very tense. But I miss those days. But you know, you mature with age and you move on.
There's a question from Jada Itene about whether you've ever been tempted at any point in your career to move back to Lebanon or to the region, and if not, why not? And I will add a follow-up question to this. Did you ever consider a career in politics in Lebanon?
First, your first question is whether I go back to live in Lebanon?
Whether you were ever tempted to go back, to move back to Lebanon or to the region?
I think I am almost halfway back, because as I said, I have a nice apartment. I think I spend about, all in all, during a year, at least 45 days a year. Because I'm still practicing. Obviously, in general, I spend barely 100 days in New York. I spend time, I'm not going to tell the countries now, because my clients are either Europe-based or Middle Eastern-based. And I love the personal contact with my clients. I don't like the Zooms. The Zooms, you do it from time to time. So I'm always on the road, but my dream was upon retirement, I don't know when it will happen, but upon retirement was to spend about half of my time there and half of my time here, because especially, you know, immigration is not an easy thing. No matter what you say. I mean, maybe in France you found it a little bit easier. I doubt it. Because when you move to a country, your first reaction is how to make the first buck. Because these are countries where if you don't have, if the faucet is completely closed, you cannot survive. So you look for opportunities to make some money. Then if you are lucky, you make a little bit more. And if you are luckier, you see that the sky is the limit. And many are tempted, they speed so much that they end up with a heart attack. So you have to know how to balance. But then the key is you stand in front of the mirror and you start wondering who you are. Where did you come from? And okay, what did you achieve? Fine, now you are secured financially. Professionally, you are satisfied. Family-wise, everything is fine. But as a human being, where you start thinking about the soul, because unfortunately, when you don't have enough money to live on a daily basis, you don't have time to think too much about your soul. And that's when you think about your roots, about your, the first time I went back after the events, my daughter was 13 then, and now she's married with children. When she saw all the friends at the dinner kissing you, welcoming you, welcome back. On the way back home, she told me, Dad, I think you should come back. You belong here. I told her, yes, but you know, this is a garden in Lebanon that I have to water from time to time. I'm coming back, but at the same time, I have this garden where you are born there in the US. So we have to maintain the balance. She told me that, but one thing, if you go back to Lebanon, wait until we go to college. So it's the feeling, yeah, you get torn when you are immigrant. But so there is no peaceful time.
We're all very familiar with.
There is always some internal torture, whether you are looking for clients, whether you are comfortable, and you start thinking about, what am I doing? Where, here, there? So Jad, I don't know you personally, but believe me, we have one of the most beautiful countries, and I remain somehow hopeful because grass looks always greener on the other side of the fence. But like every time I go to Lebanon, there is a certain quality of life in spite of all the difficulties, the human relationship, which means a lot for me. It depends on the person by the end of the day.
We have another question, this time from Paul Kimutz, who I suspect you know quite well. He thanks you for being a great mentor to him and others. He says he still remembers the day when you told him at your then New York office to always approach challenges with a positive attitude. And he thinks, and I agree, that the audience could benefit from your thoughts about adversity and the mindset we should have to tackle adversity.
Well, I say hello to them, and you know, it's by the end of the day, everything is based on human relationship, and being able to be of I don't say of being useful. It's the biggest satisfaction that you can get, and if somebody, for me, if somebody asks me for any type of favor or my time, or practically, I thank them to have given me the opportunity to enjoy that, because it gives you a satisfaction. And again, it's I must say that all the Lebanese young lawyers who came through the firm that I was in, or worked for us, and or I have known, or if I hadn't been able to assist them too much, I am proud of each one of them, because really there is a characteristic among the Lebanese who come to this country that you find rarely among others. So I thank all of them, and I hope that the only thing that I say, that's why I guess this is important also, life law. Each one of us should keep the door open, because once you make it, it's not enough. I consider making when you let others also make it. And we all have this opportunity. And this is the biggest reward.
So you talked about life law. What is your personal involvement with life, and how do you think concretely that organization can help young lawyers going forward?
Can you be more specific about the life law?
I said, what is your personal involvement with life generally?
Well, because, you know, as it was more in the financial field, and I had many friends, I participated in the event as much as I could, but I did not have any direct really impact, but I realized that this is the first Lebanese-inspired organization, which went beyond the classical feud among the Lebanese. It's pure, it's professional, it's authentic, which I mean, life itself could be a model for a new Lebanon, as a matter of fact, where nobody asks you who you are, what confessions you are, what's your name, and there is a common cause. This is the greatest thing, and that's why I think life law, if we can develop it, and because the best connections, as I said during the early part of this meeting, the networking, the professional networking is the easiest or the best road to try to build up a new, even a new Lebanon. And I'm betting on it, on life law. I think Marwan is going to lead us into new skies.
We're all counting on you, Marwan. No pressure.
A lot of pressure coming from you guys. Thank you. We're gonna hopefully all support each other to do that. And I agree with you, Berge. It's an amazing opportunity to organize the lawyers, the Lebanese lawyers that I also echo what you said. A lot of young Lebanese lawyers are making it more and more into law firms, and I've been very proud and happy to see that they've been able to get positions and also thrive in their careers. So hopefully we collectively need to think how we basically could succeed as a group and help each other using the live platform. And this is still to come. We will be asking you a lot on your input on this, Berge.
So there were a couple more questions, but we're reaching the end. So I just wanted to ask you one last question, Berge. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, but also to all the young lawyers on this call today, what would that be? One piece of advice.
First, you have to ask yourself whether you love what you're doing. Because this is a profession which takes away your soul. Because if you don't put your soul in this profession, you will never be able to make it. So just make sure that you love it. And once you love it, as I said, you have to persevere. The initial years can be hard. And once you join a firm, be sure, especially I warn them against, not against, but I warn them about the big firms. What if you have the chance of joining a big firm, be sure that you will be working for a partner who has his weight within the firm, and you don't remain in the shadow, and try to make your way up through your hard work. That's the only way. Besides that, as I said, I'm sure you are smart. That is a question of luck, but I believe that every person in life has the opportunity. The opportunity of chances will come up, and you should be ready for that, and have an open mind, and be nice to others.
That's a great note on which to end. Marwan, unless you have more questions.
No, this was wonderful. I really much enjoyed the discussion. Thank you, Noor, for preparing this and doing it. And Berge, we cannot stop thanking you for all your support. And I'm sure a lot of lawyers have really appreciated a little bit of a snapshot on the amazing career you
on the life of Berge.
Exactly. That's I learned a lot of things that I didn't know, but super interesting. And guys, please stay tuned for the next one. We wanna try to and if you can also send us suggestions on who would you like to talk to. How do you think we should basically be supporting each other through life, and what ideas you would like to have with lawyers. I know a lot of you are very active and very supportive of this idea. So please feel free to write live and let us know what we should be doing.
Thanks, Marwan. I would also like to thank you, Berge, for sharing your experience and wisdom, and thank everybody on the call for joining us today. I hope we can meet in person at some point, but until then, take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.